I'm Karen Morris here with
Brian Hession.
And today we have the honor of introducing and interviewing Joseph Eulo, whose latest project is The Endgame. And we're going to talk to Joe about that. We got a lot of other questions about him. So your latest project is The Endgame, which is showing right now on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that.
The Endgame is a character-driven American crime drama about, you could say in a nutshell, vaguely, human trafficking, sex trafficking within the United States, particularly on the Eastern Seaboard. But it follows, it's about the main character, Tony Mercy,
played by Sanjeev Valley.
Sanjeev Valley,
yep.
who is a sex trafficking survivor herself. At a very young age, lost her parents with her sister, and her sister went to live off with an uncle who was a gambler, a drunk, and lost them in a gambling debt to a pimp, who then sold them into a trafficking ring. And the day she was rescued, her sister wasn't. And so her mission, her personal struggle was to find her sister. But she was the officer that rescued her, the agent that rescued her, mentored her and taught her to turn her anger outwards rather than inwards, and to use that anger to find what's missing, and that for her is her sister. So she became an expert in the cartel and became an agent, and now her mentor, who also took her under her wing, who acted as a mother figure to her, is in charge of this task force, and had her assigned to the same task force that in the same city where she was abducted and trafficked. And so her mission is to find her sister, and she's a character with a stake. It's not I'm not saying like all cops don't have a stake in what they do. This woman has a bigger stake. And you're probably wondering, a lot of people wondering why, or ask me why a female lead. Well, first of all, women and children are the victims, and that's a very negative image to have out there. And I wanted to combat it, counterbalance it with very strong female heroes. So the Endgame is really centered around a team of women on this task force, all with different backgrounds and different reasons why they're on the task force. There's some men. And their job is to go after the demand. And they bust the demand to rescue the girls, to bring those responsible to justice. And so it's based in New York, and it's character reveals all throughout. Right now, I'm releasing the first season, which are only
episodes 1 and 2 are out already, so those can be seen on Instagram.
And probably by the end of this week, I'll have the rest of the season edited. But the reason I'm viewing Instagram is that at this level where I'm at, I'm not a Hollywood studio. I'm basically a guy with a studio in his apartment with equipment, right? So my goal is to use social media to market and get the word out about my show. So Instagram is just a launching point. So the first season is a launching point for the actual full 15-20 minute episodes that will be shown on another platform. But I will still be using Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube as a way of telling vignettes of the story. That if you watch as an audience, there'll be Easter eggs, so to speak, that will inform the larger story, but you don't need to know them in order to understand the larger story.
So this is going, once you film these vignettes, they're going to be sewn together into a larger piece.
Right.
And that'll be put on, where can we find that?
The larger piece will probably be on Vimeo, on demand, or I'm trying to stay away, or it'll be on Facebook Live. It'll be
Stay away from YouTube?
YouTube is the Walmart of video. So there's really no money to be made on, because really at this point I need to monetize my content of some way without making it seem like it's monetized. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I want to
put an ad on there, but you don't want to seem like you're putting an ad on there.
Well, not an ad. But I just think as filmmakers, we need to sustain ourselves, right? We need to sustain our creativity.
Yep.
And every month, I mean, I love creating. I mean, I would do it for free if I didn't have to pay bills and rent. But I love doing it. And I invest in equipment. Every time I get a little chunk of money, I go out and buy more gear. It's because it's so critical to being a filmmaker or a storyteller. So I'm using those avenues, those Facebook, Twitter. I'll probably be a Facebook Live because Facebook Live is hot right now. Everyone
Yeah, I've
loves
seen you
Facebook
on a lot
Live.
of videos on there.
Yeah. Probably like a weekly Facebook Live or a daily Facebook Live, depending on how much content I have.
Okay.
But it's cheap to do. It costs nothing
Yep.
to do. So I'm looking at the website. I do my own web design. So for me to do the website and create the story design, it costs me nothing this time. So I'm trying to find ways of raising production value and lowering production costs without affecting the story. And so using social media to get the word out there. And the Instagram is hot right now. 60-second videos are hot right now on Instagram, and you get instant responses from people. You see the statistics, you see who's watching it, where they're watching it from, and I like that as a filmmaker because our goal when we create content is to get it in front of an audience.
Correct.
So if it's no one's watching it, there's no sense in doing it.
So I'm a little unfamiliar with Instagram.
Okay.
Are there followers like Twitter, or is
Yeah.
is it
So-
to the public, or?
It's there's well, you have friends that you're friends with, and then they see your stuff, and then there's also a public feed where random people that don't have a connection with you see your stuff.
It's like a video Facebook almost, like
It's-
Facebook. Yeah.
But it's app based on. Well,
Yes.
you can look at it online, but it's a community of people. I meet people. You can text them, you can message them. What I like about it is it's just different. That's it. It's pictures or video. People can like and comment and or message you, and I just like that.
Yeah.
Because how does Traffico and Endgame, are they two completely different?
Well, Traffico it has so
That was
basically.
your original.
So basically, the original story that I created wasn't used.
Okay.
So I reclaimed all that.
Okay.
And now, my original story was about a son of a sex slave who went undercover to find his mother.
Okay.
But now this is, and I always wanted to have a female lead. But having a female go undercover to infiltrate a sex trade ring was, however plausible, not realistic. And so I had to come up with a way of having a woman in a place where it would be believable. Not saying that women can do anything, but I just wanted to make it real. I didn't want it to be another Taken.
Okay.
You
Right.
know?
Correct.
But I feel that people can relate to this character. They can relate to her struggle, relate to her triumph and her success and her desire to find her lost loved one. And I think putting her in this situation, it makes sense. It could happen. Putting her as just some, child of a sex slave, trying to find her mother. If it's a woman, most likely she's gonna be caught up. She's gonna be trafficked herself.
She's gonna be grabbed. Yep.
So I didn't want to portray that a false character. So
Right.
this way was better. So this one is actually from the standpoint of this woman inside this bound by these laws because she's in the trafficking task force, but tends to bend them to get what she wants, and that's to find her sister and to get justice.
Okay.
Vengeance is justice is the tagline for the series, because sometimes you need to fight fire with fire. I'm not advocating that, but when you're passionate about something, you can't tell someone who a father or a mother or parents of children who were raped or molested or whatever that they can't be angry about what happened to their kids. That's the same type of emotional base for this character.
Did you find a lot of people who respond to it have experienced something of this world?
I've only met a handful of survivors of trafficking.
How did you connect with them?
There's an organization called Survivors Inc.
Okay.
that I support,
Okay.
and what they do is they help. Typically, women or children in this business get tagged. They get a tattoo, a mark, and so of the pimp or the person controlling them. It shows like they're a piece of property, like a brand. So Survivor Things helps these women cover up their tattoos or get rid of them.
That's great.
So they can start anew. So they're not remembered. So I try to do whatever I can to help them.
Okay.
So I spoke to a few survivors in the city, but they don't want people to know that they've been through this because they don't want to be judged that way.
Correct.
It's a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is for the show is to give identity back to the victims. I don't know if you ever guys saw the Meet the Girl scene.
No.
I'll send you the link. And what I like to do, what I don't do with the camera is objectify the women in the show. They're not objectified with the camera. And looks up and down.
Yep.
They're not looked like that. They're not objectified. Even the victims are not objectified. Because I'm trying to give them identity, trying to make a connection with the audience with that particular character. Typically, what we do when we to justify our treatment of someone else is we objectify them in some way, right?
Yep.
Slavery was one example of that,
Yep.
right? So this is a modern form of slavery. So
It's actually called modern slavery.
Yeah.
If you Google human trafficking, it will actually come up the term modern slavery.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance know the percentage of women that are able to get out of human trafficking? Do you?
There's really no firm number,
Okay.
but the odds of them surviving are very slim.
Very small, yeah.
It's a very small number that are rescued. I'm part of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking.
Okay.
So I try to go to their events when I'm not busy or whatever like that, and follow up with their newsletter. They're having a conference because January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Okay.
So they're having a big thing on the 27th, which I'm going to try to attend in Jersey. So it's a training session. The problem is that there's not enough information out there. There's three things that need to happen in order for human trafficking to come to an end. One is, there's three. Prosecute the offenders. The John's been getting away so long. They get slapped
Well,
on the
they're
wrist.
usually in and out, right? They
Well-
usually get taken if they get caught, and then they're processed, but then they're released. They don't really
Right.
do any jail time or anything, the actual guys that,
The women and the children are actually criminalized.
yes.
It's the women who get put to jail. Usually the male say, "Oh, I have a family home," and
Yes.
male cops or whatever let them go. They're really giving a slap on the wrist. That's changing. The second is to reach out to those most vulnerable and educate them, or protect them.
Which are runaway
Runaways.
girls are definitely huge.
Well, 60% of most victims are people of color,
Okay.
and those disappearances or missing, they're not reported. They're not reported at all. So there's a lot of people of color missing, women and children of color. And then the third thing, what we need to do is create awareness, and that's where I come in as a filmmaker, because I can't create laws.
No, you're doing a great job
Yeah.
bringing it to the forefront.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen, there's a lot more. There's 3 or 4 other projects out there. The problem with, I think, some of them, not problem, they're great works. I applaud them. Is that people tend not to want to be preached to, unless you go to church. You know, so unless you're open for a preachy. See, that's what documentaries, they inform, and then they call you to action. But if you're not ready to be called to action, or to be informed, you feel like you're being lectured. And so there's countless other movies were made on human trafficking. There's one with Kevin Kline that I feel was very on the nose. There was pregnant pauses in between lines to let it sink into the audience. And I think after a while, we want to be entertained first. As an audience, when we go watch something, it's to escape reality for a while.
That's true, yes.
Then you
So-
sneak the education.
You sneak it through. Look,
Entertainment.
and you look what Breaking Bad really did. What did it do? Breaking Bad created a lot of awareness about the meth epidemic in the United States. That was the subtext of that show. How it corrupts and destroys people and families. Right?
Correct.
Through the arc of the characters. Now, those two actors have created charities, not particularly for meth, but that their followers have now backed them. See, they have that following now, and they're doing good with that celebrity. But I just think if you entertain first, and you entertain,
Get their interest.
you get their interest, you entertain first, then weave in the narrative the facts without being too on the nose at all. Because if you're on the nose, you lose your audience. You don't want to lose your audience. You got to keep them. That's why you got to do it like a Hollywood film. You got to do it like, you got to keep their edge. You got to do it like an action film. You got to make it character driven. You got to get people to care about your character. No longer can you create 3 or 4 dimensional characters. They got to be 16 and 17 dimensions characters. So that's the idea of the show. But the ultimate purpose underlying sublevel
Bring awareness, yep.
is awareness, but through the show. And why people ask me, well, why an episodic? Because it keeps the idea in the conscious. There's no show on television right now that focuses on human trafficking. None.
Correct.
They either there are a few cop shows, police procedurals that use it for an episode, but there's none that keep it. And usually it's some type of MacGuffin or a way to keep the story forward.
Right.
But there's no show on they have one on missing people. They have one on predators. They need one on sex trafficking or human trafficking.
Yeah, it's a tough problem. I understand, like in our country here in the U.S., a prostitute is both the victim and a criminal.
Right.
I know some of the other countries, Scandinavian countries, they criminalize the Johns,
right?
But the women who engage in that, they're not. It's not criminal for them to do that. So
yeah.
It's an interesting approach that other countries have towards this problem.
And some countries it's legal.
And there's the opposite approach where it's not. It's not illegal. So, you'll have. Sometimes women will be going into business for themselves, and that's
right.
Another weird aspect of
there's a difference between prostitution and trafficking. The line is is that when someone's forced or threatened or coerced or whatever, or they're underage, period, that's trafficking. If they're underage, no matter if they're willful or not, it's trafficking, because usually there's someone in control.
But most prostitutes, I think, are held against their will.
Well, I think
it's a psychological.
It's a psychological thing. But
yes.
When you're like, let's say you're 25 or you're above the age or whatever, and you're consenting. Now, here's what's dramatic. Here's what's the sad part is that most victims, that's all they know, and they have a very low self-worth and self-esteem, but they know that's the way they can make money, right?
And aren't most of them watched too, where if they are walking the streets, the pimps are close by, so they really don't even have a chance to try and get away.
Right, no, that's trafficking. That's when they're threatened or under duress or whatever. That's trafficking. Even if you're 25 and you're doing it, and the person who's controlling you, the pimp or the trafficker, is threatening violence, that's human trafficking.
Okay.
But when someone, a male, female, what have you, goes out there and voluntarily, just on their will, go out the prostitutes themselves.
Okay, so the will,
that's not human trafficking.
Will is the difference between prostitution and trafficking.
No, because if they're under 18 and they're doing it willfully, it's still trafficking.
Okay, so underage or against the will is
right.
trafficking, where prostitution could be a kind of consent.
Yeah, I personally think that I'm not religious. I don't follow. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not. I believe there's a higher power.
Okay.
I think.
So you're spiritual.
I'm spiritual.
More than religious.
I don't think they should criminalize women.
Period.
For prostitution, I don't think it should be. Prostitution should be illegal.
Okay.
Because if there's a demand there, the demand for prostitution is there. If they're going to criminalize anyone, it should be the demand. I don't think women should be victimized or criminalized.
I mean, I did see something interesting one time about when they do catch Johns. The Johns, I think it was maybe California, some state was making them go through like classes to try to get them, to try to re-educate and get the men to not be
I
doing that
think
anymore.
what they should do is publicly shame people. They do that in other countries. They should be shamed publicly. They should be, this person, police blotters in some local papers, they'd say this
They
person was
do
arrested.
that on occasion,
But-
in the papers.
Yeah, Mexico does it a lot. When someone's caught for a crime, they actually parade them in front of a camera and this guy did this. Shame is probably the biggest thing that will prevent you from doing anything.
True.
I think they should shame them, but I don't think prostitution should be illegal. Just because you're criminalizing the women. I just don't. I think women have been victimized for so much. But I think if you're going to make it, you should go after the demand. Some do, and then actually really give it to them, and actually really prosecute them. If they're married, hell no, don't let them off the hook. Get them help if they have an addiction. Get the women help. But people should have choices, I think. And I think that law, prostitution. Some parts of the United States, prostitution is not illegal.
Correct.
Nevada is not illegal. Parts of Nevada.
I don't see them shaming or prosecuting Johns anytime in the near future, though. I do agree with you. Something definitely has to change, but for some reason, I don't see this country moving that.
No,
in that
because
direction anytime soon.
because-
Unfortunately.
the people who have that power are also
Correct.
participating.
Correct. Yep.
It's sad. The biggest industry in the world is porn industry.
Mm-hmm.
90% of people who go online go to watch porn. That is then at least that's just that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have my opinions, but I don't. My goal is no one should be forced,
I agree.
especially children.
That's
children.
the worst part. That's the saddest part
Yeah.
of all this is that, and it seems like they're headed towards more and more young children are being trafficked.
Here's the issue. What happened? 9/11 came around. As a result of that, it became tougher to come to the United States because a lot of the victims were being brought in.
Correct.
So during that period, the demand increased. So what happened was the traffickers went inwards. There's still demand. They went to the nation's youth. There's a documentary called Abduction of Eden. You
Okay.
should watch that. It's really good. It's a true story. They're abducted. They're coerced. They're taken against their will. They're all things. Runaways are picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Runaways, they're looking to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people out there that sense that. They can read that, and they give that to them. And they use that to
draw them in
manipulate them.
first,
Right.
correct, and then they
And they use violence or coercion. It's just terrible. And it's happening everywhere in the United States.
And they do it for events, like I've heard the Super Bowl.
Super
is
big
this
events.
big
Yeah, we had a big
trafficking-
sting here a while back. The last Super Bowl that was here, there was a big sting. Any bigger, whenever you have people, you're going to have trafficking.
Out of town people too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have trafficking. It's there. They just shut down Backpage. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was a big.
Yes.
What is Backpage for those who don't know?
Backpage is a classifieds. It's kind of like a Craigslist.
Oh, is that the Village Voice? Is that the?
You would think, but they have a site called Backstage. That's for actors.
Yeah.
This is called Backpage.
But Backpage was weren't they like somehow like hiding the trafficking?
No, not at all. What happened was there are classifieds website like Craigslist, except they made most of their money on the adult section, escorts, whatever. And what's happening? Pimps that were trafficking would advertise the women on that page. And actually, what the government has done is against First Amendment rights. But I think it was the best choice they did because they're doing it for the greater good of society. So what was happening? If you go on Backpage now, there are Backpages almost in every country in the world, and almost in every city. And you click on the escort section of those cities, and you'll see these women up there advertising their services. But but that's how the traffickers get around. There's I don't know if you heard of the dark web, that you can only access through a certain Tor. I don't know if you heard of that.
No.
But it's dark web. It's like
I've heard of it once. There's
it's
no,
real.
you can't search for it.
No, you have to have. There's people who have sites that sell everything from people
Silk
to
Road.
Silk Road. That's real. It's happening. So, but what's happening on Craigslist? What you're seeing, not Craigslist, but Backpage. All the U.S. city sites have been shut down.
Craigslist, or I even see it in the phone book. Escort services.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, how can you legitimately advertise an illegal service?
Well, they're bold. Like a lot of the massage parlors
Yes.
are, when you see it says 24 hours, that's a red flag.
That is
Or
the
a
red
hotel that
flag
charges by the hour.
Well, I mean, but establishments like massage parlors, those are dens for human trafficking of some sort.
Is that what to look for though? The 24 hour.
They're open 24 hours. Or if they advertise their girls more than their services, then
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There's one in every town.
Yeah.
There's-
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
But what you're seeing right now is happening as a result of the Backpage shutting down.
Well, they're gonna have to find a new way
They
to
are.
advertise those services.
What they're doing
The
is
dark web.
no, they're using social media.
So, Joe, tell people what some of your latest projects are, and I know you also are looking to get a group together in New Jersey of people to get together and collaborate. So tell the audience what you're up to now.
Sure. So I'm starting a script-to-screen screenwriting production group, and basically that's for us to get together and start writing our scripts, short form or episodics, with the intent of making them. So so we develop them together. I read them, and then I determine which ones we want to shoot, and we create them. Yeah.
Any other new projects you got coming down the line?
I'm starting a No Film School.
Okay.
So
I go online to that. I read
Yeah.
those articles all the time.
So we're actually going to meet. We get a script. We shoot a scene, and come on, baby. We shoot a scene and we talk. We break down shots and we teach people how to use equipment. So it's like a hands-on, personal approach to filmmaking.
And if anybody wants to find out more information, where can they look online? Or
They can go to my website, josephaeulo.com, and then I have my production company, firstframefilms.net. Yeah, and they can get links from there.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
you're
taking
welcome.
the time today
Thank
to
you.
come and do this interview with us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your time.
They won't stop as long as the girls are quiet.
Why are they quiet?
Because they're afraid.
I'm not afraid. What are they afraid of?
You don't have to do this.
I want to. Use me as bait.
If you go back there, anything can happen to you.
I know.
Okay. Put this on you and keep it. This is the only way we'll be able to find you. I won't let anything bad happen to you.
Promise?
Promise.